Hello everyone, this is your friend Shinobi Nexus 2.0 and we are back in new fanfic. What if Naruto married Kurenai, Hinata, Ino and Temari? Part 4. Sakura. It's more difficult to look at the blonde idiot than she had anticipated. Part of her wanted nothing more than to beat the boy's teeth into his brain, then rip his off with her bare hand and stuff it in his mouth, but sheer will held her at bay. Team 7 was quieter than normal. All throughout team drill training and the 2D rank missions they had done, there was little more conversation than what was absolutely necessary. It unnerved her already ragged nerves. Sakura was simply too accustomed to hearing him yell, laugh, loudly slurp his disgusting noodles, ask her out on a date, bother Kakashi-sensei about training, challenge Sasuke-kun, or shout about becoming Hokage. It was actually strange to go without hearing the baka say anything. A fearful side of her wondered if he knows, and he's simply being quiet about it. The reckless side of her reasoning wonders if he's just scared that she'll tell someone, so he's staying distant. Maybe both Ino Pig and Naruto Baka were in on it to get between her and Sasuke-kun. Ino Pig would get to be with Sasuke-kun and Sakura would be blackmailed to be with Naruto Baka. It had merit, her mind told her, but it's not like he was avoiding her. Even if she ignored him, he had told her he was glad she was better, and he didn't really seem nervous or scared, just introspective or focused on that stupid leaf, again. The rational side of her mind reasoned that his uncommon behavior had nothing to do with her because it just wasn't in Naruto Baka's nature to avoid things. He's too simple to not talk to her about it. He didn't bring up what they had done, what she was forced to do, because he truly didn't know and that, at the very least, told her that Ino Pig was telling the truth about him being unaware, which only disgusted her more. Sakura still can't understand how Ino Pig could be so jealous of her that she would go so far as to take that idiot's in her mouth. It was gag-inducing. Sakura-chan, Kakashi softly calls, interrupting her thoughts. You're looking a little green. Are you sure you're feeling better? She smiles weakly at her sensei's concern. Are you alright, Sakura-chan? Don't push yourself too hard, Naruto quickly adds. She ignores Naruto Baka. Sakura eyes the raven-haired Avenger in hopes of hearing a comment of concern for her health from him, but when none was forthcoming, Sakura reassures her sensei, I'm better. And thank you for checking on me. Nay, Sakura-chan, Naruto nervously starts. I checked on you too. She turned away, and his heart broke as Kakashi calls out, alright my cute little genin, you're dismissed. See you all bright and early tomorrow. He disappears and Sasuke-kun promptly turns toward his family's compound. Sakura felt her body's great urge to follow, going so far as to begin moving along with the beautiful boy, as if pulled by some invisible string, eager to ask if she can accompany him, but she doesn't make it more than 2 steps before she remembers the photos, the life-ruining photos in Ino Pig's possession that she won't hesitate to show Sasuke-kun or her parents if she disobeyed. Her head was swimming and her stomach felt like upending its content, which hasn't been much lately. Turning around, she spots Naruto walking away as well. She urges herself forward, to follow the blonde for the sake of her love, but knowing how she now has to spend her time off, and with who, is more than enough incentive to root her to the ground. Sakura can't follow Naruto. Doesn't Ino Pig get that he disgusts me? Her mind yells, further adding, and now that I've done what Ino forced me to do, I'm disgusted with myself as well. Her breathing deepens but she's short of breath. Unable to stand, unable to follow one boy, forced to ignore the other, Sakura simply runs. She runs home to the comfort of her room and the safety of her own bed, to the picture of her love on the bedside table, but as she turns into her street, Sakura runs into a smiling Ino Pig. I knew you'd crack, Ino chuckles. I can't do it. Sakura pleads, the tears already rolling down her cheeks. I feel like I'm going to die. You couldn't possibly be more pathetic than you are right now, Ino says, looking at her with disgust. Lucky for you, I won't let you cry your way out of this one, so, stop being such a dry cooch, because you're making the rest of us real kunoichi look bad. Please, Ino-chan Ino-sama, she begs, using a more affectionate honorific. Anything but being around him. Ino-chan is fine, and do you think this is some sort of vacation I'm forcing you on? Just a lovely time at the hot springs. Ino asks, looking at the green-eyed girl with disgust. It's not supposed to be easy. Now, since you've disobeyed a directive, I'll have to punish you. No please, don't show him, Sakura begs. I'll do it. Okay. Please, Ino-chan, I'll be around the baka. Just don't show Sasuke-kun. Come on, as all Ino commands as she steps around the pinket. No, Ino-chan please, Sakura pleads. Anywhere but there, she begs with her old friend, rival, and current blackmailer. Ino simply yells behind her, let's go, now. With little option, Sakura reluctantly follows. Though her tears dry during the trek, she only starts feeling a little better when she realizes they're not walking toward the Uchiha district. They travel through some of the less active, much older training grounds, further than she's ever gone. Reaching training ground 28, Ino finally finds their target, oddly enough, sitting on the grass, legs crossed, hands on his knees like the perfect picture of meditation. What they couldn't see were the 5 pairs of clones much deeper in the forest practicing the 3rd stage of the Rasengan on some unfortunate trees. Well, there he is, Ino tells the frightened girl. Go. Now. Resigned to her fate, Sakura drags her feet as Ino continues to say, you train as long as he does, then you go home and work on your Iryo Jutsu or the report that's due in 2 weeks. Will you at least tell me? Sakura gravely asks. If you do ever decide to show that, will you at least warn me? I'll promise you I won't ever show Sasuke-kun or your parents, or anyone, really, unless you give me a reason to. What happens is up to you, forehead. As punishment for today's infraction, you get a final warning and a picture. Ino takes one of the Polaroids out and hands it to Sakura, who quickly takes and hides it. Don't throw it away, Ino instructs. It's to remind you when you need it, so always keep it on you. I might randomly ask to see it one day and I'm sure you can guess what'll happen if you don't have it. Naruto. Kurenai sensei. The voice gasps with airy disbelief. Yeah, Naruto says with a mixture of giddiness and sadness. Long black hair. Kinda shaggy. Red eyes. Pretty. Very why. Naru ni, lists off still heavily skeptical. Yeah, Naruto answers easily. You're shitting me, Naru ni continues to gasp. Even I wonder sometimes, but it's true, Naruto states, taking a step back from the hurt of the door she closed on his face to realize that he had with an absolute stunner of a woman. I never thought she would help like that, Naru ni gasps. I mean, I've heard about infiltration specialists learning a ton about and using it for missions, but, Kurenai sensei. She actually went that far. Are you sure you're my younger self? You look like me, right? Blonde spiky hair, blue eyes, whiskers on your cheeks. Yup. Naruto returns, smiling broadly. That's insane, Naru ni huffs. I didn't think it could get any more insane than Ino-chan. So that never happened to you either, then? Naruto asks. I already said I hadn't slept with anyone, Naru ni answers still in awe. I didn't know if anyone liked me like that, you know. That's the thing, Naruto ponderously comments. I thought they liked me, but then they leave afterward totally pissed. Ino-chan threatened me if I didn't stay away and Kurenai-chan even said what we did was a mistake. Naruto can hear the curiosity in his future self's voice as he asks, then why would she have with you if it was a mistake? I don't know. Naruto calls back. Women are so confusing. Naru ni then asks, you think you might be able to find out? Maybe. Naruto wonders aloud. Unlike Ino-chan, Kurenai-chan didn't specifically say she'd kill me if I didn't stay away. Alright, Naru ni states. Let's save that for later. We should get back to training. I don't think I can, Naruto weakly admits. I want to train, really, I do, but I can't stop thinking about last night. Well, I can see that even if I don't get it, Naruni sympathizes. Don't worry though, we can always go over some more plans, he suggests. What kind of plans? Well, I'd love it if we could do summons, but that can't happen until you meet your godfather, Naruni thinks aloud. Annoyed by the information Naruni withholds, Naruto asks, yet again, why can't you just tell me who he is? He'll be in Konoha soon, don't worry, Naruni reassures him. I've already told you he's really strong, and a pervert, but I'll make sure you know more before he gets there. Anyway, he's the one who teaches you to summon. Fine. Naruto lets it go for the umpteenth time. What other plans do you have? A bunch of stuff really, Naruni states generally. Sage arts, Fuinjutsu, Futon ninjutsu, but those won't be for a while, Naruni voices. Right now though there's one thing you can do that'll help you out a ton. Really? Really? What? What is it? Naruto rushes excited to focus on something that wasn't about last night. I want you to start talking to Kurama, Naruni answers. Kurama. Naruto quizzically repeats. Didn't you mention him before? You said he's a friend. Yup. And he's your friend too, Naruni asserts. Really? It'll take some work. Well, a lot of work, but yeah. No problem. Naruto calls, easily accepting the hard work of it. If you say he's a good friend and help me get stronger, I'm in. Where is he? Where can I find him? He's in your stomach, Naruni reveals, to Naruto's, huh? Naruni continues, he's the 9 tails in your seal. You want me to be friends with the Kyuubi? Yup. Now, I know what you're thinking, Naruni starts with a serious voice, prompting Naruto to listen carefully. But it's not like how the others say it is. All that nonsense about him being the epitome of evil and nothing but pure hatred is wrong. I'm going to tell you another secret, so keep it to yourself or Ji-chan will be forced to detain you until you explain how you know things you shouldn't. Narini explains Kurama's background, specifically how he was used like tool by a bad guy as well as the amount of hate he has for everyone who simply treated him like a monster. Throughout the explanation, Naruto understood all too well how it feels to be treated like a vile pest and followed Naruni's instructions on how to reach him. You don't need to try hard, just concentrate on a cold, scary feeling, and follow it. It'll be unsettling at first, but you'll get used to it the more times you visit the seal. I gotta go now, but remember, this is just a meet and greet. Unless they absolutely have to. Friends don't keep secrets from each other, so if you want to tell Kurama about me, go ahead, or if you just want to curse him out, I get that too, but if you try understanding him I think it'll go better. It took me a while to truly understand his pain, so don't worry if you guys aren't friends right away. Got it. If you say he's your friend then I feel like he can be my friend too. See ya, Naruni, Naruto thinks as he focuses on making his way to the seal. He can't tell if he's doing a good job until he feels that cold despair Naruni had mentioned. He had no idea how long he followed that feeling, even less when the pitch black of his focus faded into a low-light dank sewer. Despite the creepy unease, Naruto continues until he enters a huge cavern with just as large dull golden gates on the other end of the grand expanse. Fat water droplets dripping in shallow waters is the only sound in the room, and for some reason it carries, adding to the gloom of the devouring feeling creeping up his spine. Far too uncomfortable, Naruto can't help but call out, "Hello!" as loud as he can. Any demon's home, he adds, walking further into the room. 2 large eyes slowly open, displaying large feral red irises with the vertical pupils of a predator. You will regret coming here, boy. Huge. Naruto can't help but say, looking at the giant beast behind the gold bars. Bearing white teeth larger than Naruto himself, a low growl slowly reverberates throughout the chamber. Its sinister red eyes glare down at Naruto, who had forgotten to expect it and is wondering why he's even there. Despite the strong creepy killer intent, he held just firm enough not to back away. After several moments, the Nine-Tails growls words. Come closer, boy. Slowly, Naruto moves toward the large gates with the seal in the middle, calling out with a shaky voice, hey. You don't scare me. I know all about you. You know nothing, brat. The large feral monster bellows so loud it shakes the room and rattles Naruto's teeth. But Naruto doesn't relent, shouting back against the enormous monster ahead as well as the creeping fear within. I know your name. Not the Kyuubi but your real name. I know you were forced to attack the village. And I know you miss your father. The room settles enough where Naruto feels like he can breathe again as the large beast pauses. Quote. Before asking in a single long drawn-out word, how? I was told, Naruto answers honestly, staring unflinchingly into large red eyes. Listen up, you dumb fox. I want to be your friend, so, my name is Uzumaki Naruto. Greatest Hokage there'll ever be. Friend. Kyuubi laughs. A detestable human will never be friends with the strongest of the tailed beasts. You will tell me who told you. Naruto smiles, confidently, throwing off the fierce intimidation of the demon fox. I'll tell you, as long as we come to an understanding. The Kyuubi grumbles for a stretch before finally saying, speak. You let me use as much of your chakra as I want, whenever I want, and I'll tell you. A deal with a demon, you have the guts of a doomed fool, the nine-tailed beast declares. While my teeth may long to make a bloody mess of you, I accept. Feeling more courageous, Naruto asks, Nay, can you tell me your name? Are you so foolish you would lie to me? The Nine-Tails challenges. You claim to already know it. No, I do. I know it, Naruto reassures the Grand Chakra Beast. I just want you to tell me like friends do. Come on, you can call me Naruto if you want. Tell me what I wish to know and I'll consider it, the large fox responds. Nodding, Naruto tells the large fox everything Naruni told him thus far. Naruni said it was okay and mentioned how they became partners, and Naruto wanted that as well, so he left nothing out. The group Akatsuki, Tobi, who is an Uchiha working for Madara, taking the other Biju, the 10 Tails, the God Tree, and Infinite Tsukuyomi. Naruto finished by explaining what Naruni did to speak with his past self, and by the end, the largest mass of dark chakra was silent, very silent, silent enough that Naruto missed the creepy fear up his spine from earlier. Kurama didn't even purr angrily. He held his silence so long. In fact, Naruto starts to fidget and quickly asks, Nay, are you alright? I need time with this, Kurama conveys. Return in 2 days. When Naruto awoke, he smiled to himself. His body resists movement, but he gets up and stretches nonetheless. He can't say exactly how long he'd been sitting, but he can feel that it must have been for a few hours. Turning around, he's completely floored by the pink-haired girl sitting in the shade against a tree, reading. Sakura-chan, Naruto curiously calls. The girl's shoulders deflate, but she looks at him. The resigned expression on her face makes him wonder if she's sad, but his excitement begs the question, what are you doing here? She had the hardest time looking at him. It would have reminded him of Hinata-chan if it weren't for the constant scowling. I came to train, with you, she begrudgingly explains. Eyes wide and light as air, he hops over to her with eager happiness. Really, you really want to train together? It's just training, okay? She throws back, allowing her anger to look directly at him without wavering. Nothing else. We're just teammates training, nothing more, nothing less, got it? Yeah, sure, Naruto eagerly responds, absolutely thrilled Sakura-chan actually wants to train with him. Maybe the day isn't a total bust, he thought as he was already making plans to ask Naru-ni for any training tips for Sakura-chan. What do you want to do first? I'm the team's medic, so I have a lot of reading to do, she states, and he seemed to deflate. But, Kakashi-sensei said if I'm ever in the field, I need to be able to protect myself just as much as I need to heal others, so, I should also work on getting stronger. Naruto quickly agrees, and they start with the physical training taught by the academy and the regiment Kakashi-sensei had taught them. They had planned to spar for the rest of the afternoon, but Sakura was so physically drained that she lost focus easily and would get tagged by the simplest attacks. Laying sprawled on the grass, limbs spread and panting heavily, Sakura-chan can't help but ask, "How are you not tired?" Naruto simply gave her a non-commutable mumble of, "I don't know," whilst shrugging his shoulders. He proceeded to make 4 clones to fight against while she rested. Eventually, she joined in, raising the odds to 5 against 1. Like a general, Sakura took demanding control of the clones. With her superior analytical intelligence, Naruto quickly learns her unexpected strategies continuously take him down. The Pinkett uses timing to easily make his clones open Naruto's blind spots for perfectly synchronized attacks, forcing him to really pay attention to his weak sides. From the memories he receives later, Sakura-chan is so enthusiastic about beating him to a pulp, she actually yelled at any clone who utters a word concern for their boss. By evening, Naruto called the training to a halt, much to her extreme gratitude. Though the clones did most of the work, after every round she only grew more and more tired. If Sakura-chan's exhausted body hadn't practically ran home, he would have felt weird ending such rare quality time with Sakura-chan just so he can see Kurenai. It was an odd feeling, loving one girl who didn't love him and trying to get the attention of another who may like him. Standing by Hokage Tower, he was rubbing his temple to soothe the headache from dispelling his clones. Unfortunately, mastery of Rasengan still evades him. After an hour and a half, he assumes she's not coming, and after another hour, he's certain of it. Rather than letting his disappointment drag him down, he helps himself to several extra large bowls of his favorite dish in the world, then returns to the forest for a late-night training session. The following day was a great surprise. Instead of following Sasuke Tem after being dismissed, Sakura-chan came up to him and asked when he was going to train. Though she was strict and standoffish, he was happy she wanted to train with him. "How about now?" Naruto replies. "Now," she bellows. "We just finished team duties for the day and he immediately wants to train afterward," her inner self yells. He nods fervently. "Sure. Why not? The more training we get in, the stronger we'll get." Praying to Kami for a small number, Sakura can't help but ask him, "How many hours a day do you train?" Naruto tilts his head to the side, squinting his eyes to think on a reply. Well, when I'm not eating, sleeping, or with our team, I'm usually training. So, on the weekdays it's more than 6, but no more than 10 hours. Weekends is pretty much all day." Choking on her gasp, she eventually asks, "How is that possible? You train all that time with nothing to show for it." "Hey, that's not true," he defends himself. "I'm working on a wicked cool move right now." "What move?" she asks, not at all believing him. "I can't say," he defends even if he feels she won't believe him. "It's a secret until I've mastered it." Pushing him to break and admit his lie, she says, "You might as well tell me since I'm going to be training with you." "Training with me?" he gasps. "Really? For how long?" She sighs. "I don't know. A while, I guess. But it's just training." "Sweet. Let's get crazy strong, Sakura-chan." Kami, kill me now," she weakly responds. "The name I was honored with is Kurama," the Kyuubi begrudgingly tells the little blonde. "I know." Naruto smiles his response. "Yes," Kurama snarls. "It would seem you do." The large jailed beast snarls and grumbles, clearly not enjoying their interaction. So, how do we keep all that crap from happening? Naruto bluntly asks. I don't want to let that guy control us any more than I want him controlling you. No one controls me. I am the greatest of the nine-tailed beasts, Kurama proudly informs the uncaring boy. However, that Uchiha with his wretched eyes is not to be underestimated. It is the only reason I will help you. So, remember boy, I hate you and all your kind. Alright, Naruto yells, ignoring the present jab for the future possibility of friends. Naruni has never lied to him, so if he says they become awesome partners, then Naruto has faith that they will someday. Did you not hear what I said, filthy human? Kurama exclaims. I only wish to ensure my own survival. If your future counterpart is trapped within an inescapable seal, then my future self is also trapped, and that is unacceptable. I get it, Naruto proclaims jovially. I get why you don't like us, and I can't say I blame you. Always alone, thought of as a monster, or used like a tool. I mean, no one even bothered to learn your name. Naruni says your hate is your right, but I don't have to hate you and you're one of my teammates now. Maybe soon we can be real friends, so let's do our best. Companions with a human, Kurama laughs. That will never happen. I have it on good authority that it will. Naruto confidently jests with a wicked grin. It won't. I won't let it. Now leave. Naruto snickers at his ability to get under this powerful creature's skin before straightening his hands up in peace. Alright, don't be mad, okay. I'll be good. How do you want to train? At the moment, Kurama growls irritably. This seal allows for you to draw from my chakra, however that trickle of strength will not be enough to defeat our enemies. You will have to become mentally more adept to handle my chakra. Naruni said that it'll always be hard until we both find peace. He said uniting against a common enemy is good, but we should try to understand each other so we can truly be strong, and I think that sounds better. Learn what true strength is, Kurama recalls his father saying, making the large beast falter. I will always hate your kind. That sucks, Naruto pouts. Well, I don't hate you and I'll definitely make sure all your brothers and sisters are okay. Naruto extends his fist, just like Naruni told him, so Kurama can feel his honesty. Kurama feels a drop in his malice for a proportionate rise in melancholy, silently contemplating his jailer's extended fist. After several moments, he lays his head on his front paws, clearing his throat before he mundanely replies, maybe. For the moment I'll freely give my chakra. The more you use, the better you'll be at handling it both mentally and physically. With your own growth, so too will my power steadily rise to my former glory, so you must continue to train, for I will not accept subjugation. Naruto simply smiles as he drops his fist and responds, maybe with more chakra I can make more clones and learn jutsu faster. That's pretty sweet. I'll start today. Before Naruto leaves, Kurama starts, one other thing, then pauses for a long time. You did something some time ago. Something that was far more contrary than the few moments I've sensed your pain. Naruto looks at the giant fox confused. When his mind comes up with nothing, Naruto simply states, I don't get it. Within this seal, I can only grasp extreme sensations, sorrow, agony, and the rare moments of gaiety. Sensations of sorrow is the more common one, but recently, what I've sensed may have been what the opposite of pain is. It was, possibly, this piece you speak of. It happened another time as well. Not as recent. Time is unnecessary to a timeless creature such as I, but I'd say it happened many moons ago. Do you know what I'm talking about? No, he flat out answers him. Not a clue. You're trying my patience, boy, the large demon growls angrily. Have you not done anything new recently, during the day, or at night, which felt decidedly enjoyable? Something that felt enjoyable, he mutters, then the image of Kurenai sensei and Ino-chan pop in his mind. Oh, You mean, that's what I was doing a few nights ago, and again in the morning. You felt that? After an awkward clearing of his throat, the great and somewhat shy Biju answers, I sensed it, to which Naruto mumbles, perv. I sensed it with my previous wardens as well, but their filthy arrogance would not allow them to speak with me as I do you. You will tell me more. Really? Naruto asks, slightly skeptical a divine chakra beast would want to know about. What do you want to know? Everything, Kurama says, leaning forward and resting his large head on his front paws. Happy to talk to someone about his experiences, Naruto tells Kurama everything he learned and a lot of what Kurenai taught him. The Biju simply listens. Despite the topic, Naruto felt a sort of ease to the conversation and wondered if this was the peace Naruni was talking about. By the end, Kurama can't help but say, as the container of the strongest tailed beasts, I order you to amass more mates. What? Naruto gasps. I don't even know how it happened to begin with. Learn, as all the beast says before falling to slumber. Sakura. It's ridiculous. He's ridiculous. Who the trains so hard? It only takes Sakura 3 days to realize Naruto is a training fiend, and somehow, more capable than he lets on. His training regimen was as shocking as when she discovered his personal relations to Hokage-sama. Suffering under the intensity of his training, she learned Naruto can already walk, run and fight on water just as well as on land. Even with her perfect chakra control, it took her all day to walk comfortably on water, and unlike the blonde ball of energy, she can't stay on water for longer than 20 minutes. Sakura also thought creating corporal clones of himself was impressive enough on its own. After all, she recalls how he failed the final exam in the academy, until he revealed the secret to how Kage Bunshin helps him train. Despite the fact that it would kill a normal shinobi, regardless of rank, clone learning came across as the biggest cheat she's ever heard of. It explained why she had to continuously adjust her strategy when she and his clones would attack Naruto, which only annoyed her more. He still wouldn't tell her why he was playing with a balloon just yet, but after watching the way it pops with a massive swirl of wind, she's fairly sure he's working on some form of chakra manipulation. That isn't normal, her stunned brain reasons. Ninja don't learn chakra manipulation at all if they can help it, and when they do, it isn't for years and years in the future. How is that idiot doing that when we've only just graduated? Sakura learns fast that she can't even keep up with him. Not only does she take more breaks than he does, but his breaks are much shorter. It's little wonder why Sasuke-kun is usually tired by the end of their spars, not that Naruto Baka could actually match Sasuke-kun. But it's apparent that the blonde is able to simply outlast him. This is ridiculous. For that Baka to train like this, how does no one know? It's just so easy to ignore or hate him. Sakura wonders who would believe her if she even told anyone. No one, her mind answers. Kurenai. It would appear that Kurenai needs more than a week to forget about her monumental mistake. It would be an easier thing to do if Hinata-chan didn't ask every night to train with Genjutsu Naruto. Did I do something wrong? She asks on the 5th night. Is that why you don't want to train me with Genjutsu? For the 5th time this week, Kurenai was tempted to simply create a Genjutsu of Naruto, but as close and knowledgeable to the boy as she's become, she didn't truly understand him and didn't want to risk Hinata possibly recognizing a difference, lest the young Hyuga feels betrayed and all their progress comes undone. No, of course not, Kurenai softly starts. Why would you think that? Hinata looks Kurenai in the eyes with a great strength she wasn't capable of weeks ago. We haven't trained with Genjutsu Naruto-kun at all this week, and all you'll say is that we need to take a break. I just thought I must've. No, you didn't, Kurenai cuts her off. Despite the immoral lengths the raven-haired Jonin had to go through for her young ward to reach this level of confidence, she's thrilled about the progress the girl's making. However, now that she's finding her voice, perhaps the beautiful princess needs more of an explanation. Hinata-chan, How long have you been here? MNN, a little over a month and a half. And wouldn't you agree we've grown comfortable with each other? Yes, she blushes. I know the training we've been performing has certainly helped, but it's all been in a controlled environment, hasn't it? Kurenai gives the indigo-haired girl a moment to try and grasp what she's saying, so hopefully, Kurenai never has to ask Uzumaki-kun for help again, or even see him if she's being honest with herself. When you're comfortable, like you feel here with the genjutsu version of Uzumaki-kun, it's far too ideal than what you can expect out in public. Which is why I think you need to attempt befriending the real Uzumaki-kun. Eep. Hinata yips. I couldn't. She stutters, completely bumming the beautiful Jonin to see. Hinata-chan, I stopped because I believe in you. I know you can do this, Kurenai conveys with genuine heart. Start with whatever makes you comfortable, a simple hello, or ask him how he's doing, however you feel most at ease. I did a fairly good job representing him, so I don't think he'll embarrass you in any way. Why you? She takes a calming breath. Do you really think so? I know so. Kurenai smiles at her young ward, and for the first time that day, she's happy. Happy for what her charming pupil is courageous enough to do, as well as for the blonde genin Kurenai is all too happy to avoid. Hinata-chan has to return to the Hyuga compound in another hour or so, but she'll be back first thing next week. The beautiful Hyuga is the only true bright spot in her week, and while it gets sadder and sadder every time her cherished student leaves, Kurenai is uplifted to know she'll be back. With every passing week, Kurenai finds she wants Hinata-chan to come back with more fondness. Weighed down by her own reprehensible actions with a boy, the Jinchuriki, of all people, not just for her lapse in judgment but also for how fondly she recalls the memories, it was as if her naturally analytical mind was pushing to study the experience, evaluate every orgasm, and even compare it to her past lovers. The fact that the boy even rates close to the top only makes her mind want to evaluate the boy's performance even more. Morbid curiosity and a strong sense of shame have been her constant companion this past week, and she makes sure she keeps as busy as humanly possible to avoid thinking about it. As if personal disgrace wasn't difficult enough to suffer through on a daily basis, Kurenai tries as hard as she can to tune out the constant speculation many villagers and shinobi seem to have about the fate of the Hokage's son. Marriages have always been well received in Konohagakure, and everyone is eagerly looking forward to the good news so they can prepare for a week-long festive celebration in their honor. Of course, Kurenai's well-known association as a former teammate of Asuma's has many of the younger or ignorant shinobi as well as villagers asking if she knows any romantic details between the princess and the Hokage's son. She's asked with sheer excitement whether she's walking through the village, shopping, or lunches, and they can't help but chat with her about all the places they've seen the happy couple come and go, aggravating Kurenai to the point of constant and ever-present nausea. It wouldn't be so rampant if the princess wasn't returning to the capital so within the week. Her departure Saturday morning is why Kurenai decided to stay in and read in the quiet of her home rather than join the rest of the village in bidding the princess farewell. On the couch with a scroll in hand, she hadn't expected a knock at her door. She hadn't expected a red-faced and sweaty Hinata-chan behind her door, and she certainly hadn't expected Uzumaki-kun behind her. Hinata-chan, Kurenai oddly calls, observing her treasured student with the biggest mistake of her 24 years of life behind her. What are you doing here? SSS-sensei, a wide-eyed and nervous Hinata stutters. www was hoping, www we can have lunch, here. Kurenai can easily see the deep pleading in the girl's eyes, and despite never wanting to see the blonde again, she instantly wants to help her student, offhandedly voicing, "Why don't you come in?" Ignoring the cheers in the distance for the princess and taking a second to look at a very eager Uzumaki-kun, she has little choice but to add, "The both of you." Settling in the living room, Kurenai is at least happy to see Uzumaki-kun look around as if he's never been in her home. Nice home, sensei. Smells real nice. Masking her trepidation, Kurenai feigns a polite smile, responding, "Thank you, Uzumaki-kun." Playing along, he asks in a surprised tone, "You know who I am?" It offers her some relief when she thinks, at least he's good at this. "You're Kakashi-sensei's student," Kurenai returns. "I know the members of every newly formed genin team." Naruto nods with a hum, and Kurenai turns to Hinata, asking, "Hinata-chan, will you help me with the tea?" "Ah," Hinata yelps, recalling her manners. "Of course. Make yourself at home, Uzumaki-kun," Kurenai states before sensei and student walk into the kitchen. As Kurenai begins to fill the kettle, she turns to Hinata-chan, eyeing the girl to explain. Anyo, a very submissive-looking Hinata starts, and Kurenai didn't like the girl's slumped shoulder, the near-tearful look in her eyes, and her nervous twiddling fingers. It makes Kurenai relax a little as Hinata explains, "I was at the farewell mass FF for Princess Tomoko, and so was NN Naruto-kun." Considering that Hinata knows nothing about what she'd done with the young Hyuga's lifelong crush, Kurenai asks as gently as possible, "Hinata-chan, why would you ever think to bring him here without my permission?" Looking wounded, Hinata stutters, I know, this was a bad idea, sensei." Hinata bows twice before Kurenai can place a comforting hand on her shoulder. Still, Hinata adds, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I wasn't thinking." "Hinata-chan," Kurenai starts, staring intently in the girl's eyes. "Breath. You haven't killed anyone. I'm just curious. Please, explain yourself." As Kurenai sets the water to boil, Hinata calms herself before stating, "I saw him, and I said hello, and he was exactly like in our training. I was so happy that I hadn't fainted, and I asked if he was hungry, like we'd done in the sessions. I was so nervous, sensei, but he said, yes. But there were so many people and I felt like my heart was going to explode, so I thought we could have lunch here, because I thought of what you said, sensei, do it however I'm most comfortable. So I thought, here, please, sensei, please." Kurenai felt the double edge of her words cut her as she mumbles, "Hinata-chan. No more than lunch, then we'll go," Hinata-chan pleads with her big lavender-white eyes. Unable to disappoint those beautiful pleading eyes, Kurenai sighs, "Fine. But only for lunch. I want you to feel comfortable here, but next time ask before you invite someone over, understand?" She states the question, giving no room for misinterpretation. "Yes, oh yes. Thank you, sensei." Hinata happily cheers. Can you tell him I have to use the washroom?" she nervously asks, wiping off the nervous sweat from her forehead, and Kurenai just nods. Walking into the sitting room, his eyes snap onto her entering form. His face starts turning bright red as he stares, wide-eyed, drinking her in, and it's only then Kurenai becomes aware she's in her comfortable, yet form-revealing housewear, white summer shorts that showcase a lot of toned thigh and a red, spaghetti string halter top. Her lustrous dark hair was down, and she can easily imagine what a sight she is in his hormonal clear blue eyes. He almost didn't notice he was automatically walking toward her until she put her hand up. Snapping out of it, Naruto at least has the decency to look abashed. "Sorry," he says, and his first question to her is obviously, "Will you come back, please?" "Uzumaki-kun," Kurenai cautiously warns. "I hope for your sake you're not using Hinata-chan as a way to get closer to me." "I don't use friends," he confidently proclaims. "But she invited me, and I wanted to come and say I'm sorry if I didn't do it right, or if you're angry with me. So, can't you please come by tonight? I haven't told anyone, and I won't, so, you'll come by, right? You're still thinking of this like it's training when that isn't how it should be," she tells him, keeping a tracking ear on Hinata in the bathroom upstairs. "How can you not see this isn't good for either of us?" For our futures. No, I cannot in good conscience encourage this any further. Then explain it to me, Naruto asks, desperate for clarity. Why was it okay that night but not the next morning? Hearing signs of Hinata finishing, Kurenai attempts to make a deal with him. If I explain why it happened and why it can't again, will you stop this? I don't know, Naruto curiously states. I'd have to hear it first. You don't have to hear it first. You can just agree, Kurenai states with mild frustration. But what if I hear it and I still don't stop? Naruto genuinely asks. I don't want to lie and say I will when I won't know for sure until I hear it. Expelling frustrated air from her tight chest, Kurenai simply agrees. Fine. Anything to end this, she thinks. But I'm not going to your apartment. Just come back here after you walk Hinata-chan home. He happily nods before Hinata-chan returns and they have a light lunch, though Naruto is just as hungry after they finish their small bowl of salad. Kurenai and Naruto kept most of the conversation going, but Hinata-chan smiled often and spoke twice. It almost seemed worth it just to see the girl be so brave against her reinforced and chronic insecurities. For herself though, being around him, smelling him, catching him lusting over her, Kurenai couldn't help the warmth continuing to grow in her center. He even had to nerve to brush by her close enough to take in her scent. Her traitorous body easily recalls how this boy manhandled her and physically responds with rising sensitivity, radiating heat, and pooling moistness. Aroused, her body yearned for attention, though luckily for her, it didn't have to be with him. Excusing himself to use the restroom before they leave, Kurenai wonders how much to tell the boy when he comes back. As the two genin exit her home and clear her white fence, she wonders if he would understand the yielding combination of being deeply hurt, being reckless and inebriated, how much she just wanted to forget her upsetting troubles, how much he helped her forget. Could he accept that as the reason she degraded herself enough to have so much with him? Even if he sprints, an aroused Kurenai doesn't expect him back for another 30 minutes, and rather than a shower to cool herself down, she walks upstairs to her room and pulls out her vibrator. On her bed with a pillow under her waist for elevation, she closes her eyes and opens her legs. Spread and comfortable as she was, Kurenai works her electric phallus in and out of her wet snatch with practiced ease. The loud buzzing in the air is ignored and her mind takes her back to her most recent UAL encounter. She lets her naturally analytical mind replay each moment, each position, each orgasm, easily soaking her pleasure aid in her sleep juices as she feels the pleasure coil of her body grow more and more tense, threatening to snap in pure euphoria should she continue. Men, AHNN, she mules, coding the length of the vibrator as she asks herself to that starving release. Kurenai can feel it won't be the best climax, but it'll more than take the edge off before he returns. Stuffing herself repeatedly, she somehow recalls his smell more clearly, helping her transport sensations back to the time she was on her back in a thick, blonde bush twizzing her like a wild animal. Feeling herself right on the edge, she stuffs the vibrator in deep when her walls clamp down, sending shocks of pleasure up her spine and brain. Oh gig, she moans loudly, releasing her toy to massage her stiff S&S and revel in the waves of pleasant sensation, that is until Kurenai bolts upright at the foreign feel of a rough tongue lap up her expelling juices from her quaking cunny. Quickly understanding who the blonde head of hair between her legs belongs to, and the pleasure from his enthusiastic licking and sucking, she can only gasp, wait. Before another wave of pleasure has her strong grip ripping at the sheets of her bed. MMMMMMNNNNNNN. OUHNNN, she moans as his clumsy tongue slowly allows her decent orgasm to subside. Though Kurenai is reeling in gratifying pleasure, she has enough sense to try and force away Uzumaki-kun's eager tongue. You Uzumaki, she calls, but as she tries to force him away, he's far too impassioned and pushes forward, either intentionally or accidentally, plunging his long muscular organ inside her sodden center. Manefef, Kurenai cries as the blonde's mouth eagerly covers nearly all of her snatch, licking within and sucking without in tandem, making her arms weak and forcing another spiral of pleasure to build and coil in the base of her ecstasy. MMMNNNNN. She feels the boy's voice vibrate her already sensitive petals, ripping out a deep moan of her own. MMMMMNNNNN. As she grips his hair, she vaguely wonders why she hasn't stopped him, but the way her quim dilates with expanding bliss only just manages to delay any need for an immediate answer. She'll figure it out later. Just, she gasps, as her mind says the rest, finish. With finishing being her body's sole concern now, Kurenai plays with her left, pinching and pulling her pert pink as her right hand circles and rubs her exactly as she likes it. His tongue is weird, her mind yells lovingly, and she focuses on his unique pleasure-inducing organ. With his constant rough tongue lapping at her quivering sensitive wall, and his mouth sucking and drinking everything she expels, it doesn't take her long to reach the edge of another immense drop. I'm almost. MMNN. I'm almost. Come in. Kurenai snaps her head back, her spine arching tight with blissful rapture, sending waves of pleasure throughout every humming cell in her hot and sweating body. Her thighs twitching as delightful as her pelvis gyrates uncontrollably against the boy's face. Her second orgasm is larger and more intense than the first, and she sees white for several moments as her body quivers and trembles deliciously, soaking in the velvety delight of oblivion. Barely coming down from exotic devastation, she realizes Uzumaki is still lapping and sucking at her opening, desperate for more and keeping her in a constant state of euphoria. Still, with more clarity now, she pushes his head away with as much force as her twitching muscles can, which she hates to admit isn't much. Pushing Uzumaki's head away, she rolls from him and off the side of the bed onto very shaky legs. She actually has to brace herself on the dresser by the window. Nai-chan, she hears him call as she calms her breathing, quickly collecting her higher reasoning while looking to the blue sky out the window. When she hears him step closer, without looking at him, she points and calls out, "Wait." He stops but only for a second, then actually hears his pants shuffling down. "Just stop, Uzumaki," she calls one more time. "Please, sensei," he weakly implores, voice thick with hunger. "Please, I need you so much. He stops and she hears more rubbing. "No," she cuts him off, and yet again he takes another step forward. It's like he's incapable of thinking, so she calls louder, "Stop. Please." "One more time," Naruto states, taking his painfully hard in his hand and jerking it for any stimulation. He quickly realizes it's not good enough. Only she can sat his hunger. His lust-filled eyes are pained as he expresses a great need. "Just need to be inside one more time. Uzumaki," she calls, turning around to look at him. His eyes are still dilated, almost black with desire. His cheeks and neck are inflamed and he isn't even looking at her face as he pleads. He only has eyes for her feminine treasures. Clenching her fist, she's ready to punch him to his senses when she hears loud popping behind her outside. Turning to the window, she can see streamers, balloons, confetti floating up in the distance. The loud popping of fireworks from that location in the sky informs her its main street and happy Konoha villagers are bidding farewell to one of their country's beautiful princesses, no doubt hoping for an optimistic announcement in the near future. An announcement that in many ways eradicates promises at the heart of Kurenai. Her body's womanly yearning, her dearest male friend and possible life partner, and her devotion to the future she felt on a daily basis. Until that moment, she expected the beautiful future would have eventually happened, some way, somehow, her and Asuma would get there. Despite her ardor, she trusted in a benevolent future only to learn it was a child's fairy tale. The festive party in the distance for their country's beautiful princess and the Sarutobi heir is bluntly telling her she's wrong. Without her verbal tell-off, Uzumaki's face dives into the wet-hot pocket of her nether region between her round cheeks and taut thighs. His hands grip her S and pull hard, mashing his mouth and tongue against her delicate folds, covering as much moist honey hole with his cheeks and mouth as possible. Manefef, Kurenai moans at his energetic push. Uzumaki. She tries, but her eyes won't let go of the view outside her window. Kurenai suddenly feels trapped by the vision before her, hurting her by denying her simple wants, and the pleasures between her legs born of indecent desire. Uzumaki, if you don't stop, mmmnn, she gasps as he sucks and laps her delicate nether lips. Why stop? The princess is finally leaving, but that isn't what matters. She knew the truth the moment he completely ignored her, the moment he walked around her. It's how Asuma is. The gruff man had told her without uttering a word, and the thick, heavy pain resting in her chest sentenced her emotional convictions to death. The wishes of her village outside had become all too real in her heart, and it broke her. The warmth of a rough tongue is removed from her sensitive quim for cool air, a curiosity that is quickly met with a stiff answer. Yuijin, ha, she moans when he stuffs his bulbous crown into her sodden snatch. Her knees shake with the sudden spread of her wet walls, lowering her even more despite her grip on her dresser. Her voice is silent as she ponders the escape being offered by the blonde, the simple way to deflect the core-crushing hurt from her broken love. Spying on the festivities through the window for the last time, she slowly closes the curtain, closing that little bit of pain along with it. If she couldn't be happy in her heart, then shouldn't she, at the very least, be allowed the joys of the body? Uzumaki-kun isn't ideal, but it's just one more time and no one has to know. For the moment, she'll forget about her staggering loss and lose herself in pleasure. The only real issue is Hinata-chan's crush on the boy. Even if Hinata were made to be a branch member, her family would never agree to such a union, much less marriage. In the long run, Uzumaki-kun and Hinata-chan can never be together, and that ought to matter the most if only by a little. Kurenai can steer her beautiful ward in a direction with a higher chance of actual happiness, not unlike herself. Yes, she manages to think and feel as he spreads her deeper. Better I should guide Hinata-chan to find love elsewhere. Her mild cognitive ability is interrupted by a pang of bliss from a strong nearly striking her G-spot, sending a strong jolt up her spine. Pumping away eagerly for more of her rich honey, she strives to guide him. On, mmmnn, a little to the on, to the left, yes, mnn, yes, there, right there, she moans loudly, squeezing her moist hot walls that much harder as he enthusiastically hits home with every thrust. Meeting his heavy thrust, she notes it's not his technique that's making her so aroused, it's the staying power of his intense pounding. His determination is like a feral animal, with enough muscle and excessive stamina to plow her sensitive walls and UAL discipline asunder. She can tell the lust-filled blonde is relishing in her reactionary squeezing, and it only spurns him further, harder, faster, spreading her good and hard, over and over while their crotch and thighs are drenched in their frothy. Aahn, on, aha, ha, make me forget. That's yes. MNN, me, MMNN. The loud constant wet smacking of sweaty flesh, the smell of his UAL musk mixing in her nose with her own, his desperate grip on her muscles, his absolute youthful vigor is enough to push her further and further to that inevitable explosion of mind-numbing pleasure. She moans gutturally with his every thrust, over and over, feeling his insatiable need to break his peak inside her hot center. His raw vigor more than makes up for his lack of technique, and Kurenai is happy with that, for now. Nai-chan, he whimpers, as his thrusts speed up. Kurenai can hardly believe how depraved her saliva-mixed moans are as he pounds into her with powerful strokes. MMMNNN. AAHHN. YYESSS. Cammy. Deep. You're so MMN. She cries as the strong, beautiful Kunoichi's mind starts to melt. She's right on the edge of shattering when, without warning, he slams in as deep as he can go, and blasts his thick man milk into her boiling cunny. Not unlike before, it's a tremendous amount and possibly even hotter than she remembered, easily pushing her over the edge and detonating a third powerful orgasm. His sweltering body hugs her tightly as her jittery walls clamp down on his thick erupting member, sucking and pulling him in as deep as she can while he floods her vaginal canal with his baby batter. Her mind dumbs as her body shakes and tumbles with his. All her thoughts and awareness cease to exist, leaving only waves upon waves of boundless pleasure while he fills her with a copious amount of his seed. Eventually they slump haphazardly to the floor like two boneless sacks of hot water. One blissfully spent, the other, waiting a moment before his second wind kicks in. It wasn't a long wait. He has eyes after all. Pressed against him, soft and slick with body-cooling moisture, is one of the fittest and most beautiful women he'd ever seen, panting and trembling happily with his still snug inside her. The irregular jittering and shaking of her slush walls easily keep him from softening, and the thought that he had flooded her insides with his thick cum is more than enough motivation for Naruto to forget all about his body's exhaustion. Naruto wraps an arm around her waist, elevating her some, happy to gut her again. MMNN, she moans, as she's unexpectedly lifted, causing her already sensitive to grip him that much harder. Witless with dizzying pleasure, Kurenai can only muster enough coherence to tell the eager blonde, wait, Uzumaki. Call me Naruto, he interrupts, as he slides out of her with a loud slurp, causing her to groan at the sudden loss. She turns over with his assistance, holding the dresser for much needed support. I'm still sensitive on. She's mush on her knees with her face against the dresser as he thrusts into her again, taking a moment to appreciate the hot snug muscle, before sliding back out, enjoying the friction of his head deliciously dragging the ribs of her sensitive, cum-covered. He thrusts in again with just as much want, with even more depth, reaching the furthest part of her soaping cunt. Kurenai moans through the absolutely blissful pounding of her hungry insides, until they come together, and to her surprise, feeling his knot expand and lock them together as he stretches her uterus with pudgy spunk. Eventually, they end up on her large comfortable bed. It's the first time he has a clear view of her entire figure, and he's easily transfixed. Kurenai, with her long, matted dark lock, full red lips and matching eyes, and her athletic hourglass curves, was a kunoichi of the highest caliber, and Naruto couldn't help but feel like an utter failure at his paltry attempts of his waijutsu. No one could possibly be wire than her. It takes him several moments to get over his enthralled shock, and only after she called his name, before instantly becoming glutinous for her womanly perfection. The exciting view spurs on a whole new marathon of energy, and he's stuffing his steel inside the beautiful kunoichi with all he has. In the superheated bedroom, his eyes take in the sensual curve and sublime arch of her glistening spine, the way her drenched raven locks stick to her flush skin, as if she only just stepped out of a hot shower. Of course, the almost pained expressions of her flushed face, from the wide O of her luscious cherry lips to the near catatonic look when she has an eye-crossing, toe-curling orgasm. Her moans during her rise to great peaks, her panting pleas for a respite, and the way she pleads his name to go harder, faster, it all adds the indescribable bliss he feels being connected to her, inside and out. Everything about her turns him on, mindlessly. He's heard of drugs and their effects on people, but until this moment, Naruto never fully grasped what it really meant to be addicted to something. Whether slamming into her slick, buttery hot goodness, sucking and fondling her large ass, or simply drinking everything that comes out of her, he absorbs it all habitually, as if her luscious body is a warm basket of perpetual sunshine and happiness. Naruto's only hope of coping with the incredible surge of aroused energy is by putting it all inside of her, using it all on her. He doesn't know how he reaches that conclusion. Whether it's to honor her, to thank her, to conquer her, he couldn't say, but he knows giving her everything is the only way to feel peace. In the moist musk and heat of Kurenai's bedroom, they stay together in one form or another for hours, whether directly plugged into one another or his mouth and hands licking, sucking, kneading, or massaging her. All to her extreme disbelief. She knows this is a whole new experience for him, and boys tend to be much more energetic than adults, but Uzumaki doesn't seem to fit the mold. He isn't quick, energetic, certainly, but he stays active for as long as she does, and they often find themselves gushing together. He busted his sack no less than 9 times, nodding her 4 times, and though she would have preferred if he finished outside, most of his thick spunk finds its home in her fertile walls. No matter how many times she warns him to come on her rather than in her, he'll be too lost in his own pleasure to acquiesce to her pleas, hugging her tightly as he unleashes endless rivulets of semen. Unable to muster more than mild protest, toward the end, she simply makes a mental note to talk to him about it later. Fortunately, all active kunoichi are on the pill for one simple yet horrible reason. After hours of vigorous copulating between resting, they naturally fall asleep on her ravaged and cum-stained sheets. Despite the radiating heat, Naruto holds her tight, and with some embarrassing honesty, she admits to herself it's not terrible. Kurenai is the first of the pair to wake, aware that the delicious ache sparkling throughout her satisfied body is because of the blonde ball of energy laying on top of her. Snug between her strong legs, he holds her tightly with his head resting comfortably between the mounds of her s. Aside the wonderful, floating ache, Kurenai appraises the gently slumbering boy atop of her. Once again, it's difficult for the red-eyed Jonin to come to terms with what she's done, again. Not impossible, but difficult. She doesn't love the boy, that much is certain, but she can honestly say he more than meets her physical needs, though she can't help but wonder if it's simply him, his nodding uniqueness, or if her dry spell has just been that long. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, she thinks, before correcting herself. Or in this case, the lust. An unrelated thought of how nice he smells despite the reek of and sweat in the room, makes her mumble, "I'll need to air out the room soon." Even if Kurenai knows it's morally wrong, at least it wasn't illegal, and truthfully, no one needs to know. It was simply training him, as payment for helping her with Hinata-chan, which sounds absolutely horrible to her. Single quote comma exclamation mark single quote. Her mind curses. This is wrong, she knows, but it can be okay so long as no one feels unfairly treated. As the adult, Kurenai understands she's the one most responsible here, for both the good and bad. She knows the young genin only needs to allude to abuse, and she'll easily go down for it. So, in the unlikely event this arrangement ever comes out, as long as he doesn't testify to being taken advantage of, then in the eyes of the Shinobi Council, it'll simply be 2 consenting adults engaging in legal private affairs. Though she's certain that's not how the civilian council will see it, she also knows they have no real sway over her career. Barring any extreme demands from him, if she can keep him content, then she shouldn't have much to worry about. His stomach growls loudly, surprising her out of her thoughts. She can't help but giggle at his pained expression as he snuggles even closer against her humming body, giving her a pleasant sensation from their warm skin-to-skin contact. Sticky and grimy though they are, it only seems to add a thrill to the pleasant glow she feels everywhere. The low lighting of the room informs Kurenai it's early evening, and after hearing Uzumaki's growling stomach, she's much more aware of her own hunger. Hoping she doesn't wake him, she attempts to extricate herself from him, but as she moves, he only holds on tighter, easily making her feel like some sort of security blanket. Recalling reports of his living conditions explains why he's so attention-starved and pulls pranks. Living alone for so long can make anyone crave physical contact like hugs, pats on the head or shoulders, or even the tussling of hair. Well, he has to wake up at some point, she mumbles to herself before running her fingers through his silky blonde scalp, calling, "Uzumaki-kun." Uzumaki-kun. Slowly, a smile spreads his cheeks and he mushes his chubby cheeks into her soft valley, tickling a giggle out of her as he exhales on her stiffening. Cammy, giggling this much, I must be swimming in oxytocin and endorphins. Looking at his pleased face makes her aware of her own smile. Content to favor him, she runs her fingers through the silky spikes of his golden blonde hair, that is until her stomach interrupts her with a very audible grumble. Uzumaki-kun, she calls louder, grabbing the sides of his head and lifting him up. It's time to get up. Han, he sounds through a slack jaw, one eye closed, the other half open. Nai-chan. That name, she mentally chides. A slow deep inhale is calming, but for that pen name, she needs 2 deep breaths before she continues. Uzumaki-kun, I need you to let go. Instinct makes him tighten a bit before softening his grip as she adds, I need a shower. We both do. I also have to prepare dinner. Oh, he calls happily at the mention of food. He moves a bit away from her, enough to see her form under him, and Kurenai can actually see his eyes glaze over, as if falling under some slave genjutsu simply by the sight of her. Though it's thrilling to her warm fuzzy center to witness, she quickly moves away from him before he loses any more mental control. Nabbing a pillow to cover herself, Kurenai easily advises him, calm down. Take a breath. I think we've had enough of that for one day. Looking at his semi-hard, she points to the bathroom, commanding him, actually, go take a shower now. A cold one. Red in the face with embarrassment, he starts moving when he's struck with a thought. He voices, since this is your house, shouldn't you use the bathroom first? It's the other way around. As your host, I offer you first turn, she tells him, to which he nods in acceptance. Please take a shower and get dressed. She didn't want to tell him it was going to take her some time to get his insane amount of cum out of her. Now that she's standing, she can already feel it oozing out of her and drag down the inside of her toned thighs. Even if she ran to Hinata-chan's bathroom down the hall, she was certain she wouldn't get there fast enough to avoid leaving a trail of white globs on the wood floor. He puts so much in me, she mentally marvels, feeling it leak out with a jovial thrill. It's fortunate that her own juices thinned the concentration of his semen, but it's still a large quantity. He seems to enjoy sowing as deep within her as he can. Since a vagina is the second most natural place for semen to be, she isn't worried about getting it all out, as her body will do that on its own, but with this much, she'll have to take most of it out herself. Once showered, dried and dressed in unflattering flannel pants and red camisole top, she makes her way to the kitchen. Setting her hair up and in a towel to dry, she finds Uzumaki sitting on a stool spinning on its swiveling cushion. With her entrance, his smile broadens drastically, his clear blue eyes drinking her in with the thirst of a man dying of dehydration, the length of her fine neck, the exposed cleavage of her larger than average bust, and the flannel that cannot hide her perfect posterior. His clear desire for her after everything they've done throughout the afternoon is the only reason for her blush. To think he's eager for more is, to her mounting disbelief, flattering. Kurenai simply isn't used to such raw, lavish attention from someone she's been usually active with. There are plenty of shinobi or villagers that undress her with their want-filled eyes, but unlike the baby blue eyes gazing hungrily at her now, they haven't seen her, they haven't her to a mindless stupor, so there's always a buffer between her and them. Uzumaki-kun has seen, tasted and all of her. When he gazes at her hungrily, it's more profound. Immoral or not, to Kurenai, his eyes will forever be different. Aware of the cuddle hormone still coursing her system, Kurenai isn't so alarmed when she feels a giddy heat in her stomach, a little hop in her step, her straighter posture, driving out her enticing C-cups that much more forward. Even her scalp tingles affectionately, making her lush dark locks feel more vibrant. Post-coital bliss, she mentally identifies the affectionate playfulness as she walks over to the pantry. Overlooking her blushing feelings, she can't help but comment, I thought you'd be halfway to your beloved ramen stand by now. Half looking away and blushing madly, he shyly questions more than says, I thought. I was hoping, maybe, we could eat together. Is he trying to be cute, or are the elevated hormones just making me more amiable to his mannerism? She mentally asks, bringing out some red potatoes. Kurenai isn't sure he should stay, but she's certain nothing more will happen. Add to that they need to talk about this unexpected development, and she says, I suppose that's fine. Sweet. He exclaims. Nay, Nai-chan, please don't call me that. She quickly cuts him off. Kurenai-sensei, sensei, or even Yuhi-san is fine. But you keep calling me Uzumaki instead of Naruto, he counters. I prefer to keep our association professional at all times, she responds. Ever since her father, she's always felt more comfortable keeping that distance with everyone. Which is why neither of us needs to address each other so personally. But we're alone, he points out before asking, why keep it professional now? We have to be careful with how we act around one another, more specifically in public, she explains as she opens her fridge. Absolutely certain he's unaware of how hungrily he's eyeing her, she squats down to gather the ingredients for her salad rather than bend over and give him an enticing view. If you call me cutesy personal names in private, there's a higher chance you might accidentally give that information away in public. I know we don't have much cause to interact in public, but you can never be too careful. It's not unlike your field prep class at the academy for away missions. I think I might have missed that one, Naruto nervously says. That's not possible, Kurenai returns. That course is a requirement for graduation. You can't become a genin without passing all required courses. Well, I missed a bunch of stuff because, I'd always get sent home, he returns with a bit of a chuckle. It wasn't until Iruka-sensei got there that I actually got to stay and learn as much as I could. Kurenai looks at him oddly, somewhat curious as to how he managed to become genin if he missed many school days. Leaving it to ponder another day, she continues in an educational tone. Part of field preparation for a mission involves leaving behind any unessential personal items, so no rings, pictures, or anything of sentimental value. The reason being, if you're captured by an enemy, they won't be able to use the things or people you hold dear to break you. That makes sense, Naruto nods, before thinking a step further and wondering aloud, I don't get what that has to do with us. Us, she thinks. Really? With a sigh, she answers, while the village is not our enemy, you and I now share something personal that neither of us want anyone to learn of. If anyone found out, they could try to use it for their own advantage, or could simply tell Hokage-sama to get us in trouble. So, no more, Nai-chan, Uzumaki-kun. Kurenai-sensei, sensei, or Yuhi-san are acceptable. Ku-sensei, he tries. Letting out a breath of disbelief, she whirls around to the sunny blonde, telling him with authority, no. Not that either. Nai-nay, he asks, eyebrows raised. No, she says a little louder. Kurenai-nay, he counters. I'm starting to lose my patience, Kurenai warns him. He gulps and chuckles nervously as he responds, Kurenai-sensei, what are you making for dinner? Dark greens and spinach salad with a side of asparagus, sliced almonds, and red potatoes, with a vinaigrette, she answers before pausing. His queasy, disenchanted face makes her roll her eyes. Nay, he starts. Is there any possibility of eating meat with it, or just eating meat? I only eat meat when I have no other option, she informs him rather offbeat. Do you mind if I go get some and come right back? Salads are they don't fill me up at all. He bellows. I've been super hungry since lunch. Evaluating how needy he is for a more hearty meal, she huffs and moves to the freezer. I have some steaks I can make. She hears him whoop as she fondly looks over the large packaged steaks, sorely recalling the gruff jonin she had bought them for. They're thick cuts. Some of Akamichi's best, she warns him. Will you be able to eat that much? He gives her the most confident chuckle before answering, not a problem. Nodding, she fixates on preparing dinner all while he fixates on her. It's silent between them as the sizzling of the steak crisps and crackles and the room is filled with its tasty scent, but it's not uncomfortable. Nearly done, Kurenai catches Naruto rubbing his temple instead of gazing at her, as if trying to ease the pain of a headache. Dinner's nearly ready, Kurenai says, unable to grasp how such a domestic scene is taking place in her home with Uzumaki Naruto, of all people. Set the table, she adds, trying to temper her fear-inducing wonder. He does as instructed, but as she's setting their meal down, he still looks to be in a bit of pain. Preferring to wait until they've eaten and are comfortable before having the big talk on how they move forward, Kurenai breaks the silence. As he's already mentioned a number of bizarre remarks, it's easy to engage in light conversation. The most pressing query she needs him to clarify for her, however, is, how did you manage to escort Hinata-chan home and return so quickly? You were in my room less than 7 minutes after I let you out, and I know for a fact she lives nearly an hour away. Please tell me you did not blow her off so you could come back here. I didn't. I wouldn't, he quickly reacts. I made a clone when I went to the bathroom and my clone walked her home. It dispelled right afterwards, so I know she made it back okay. Your clone? Kurenai quirks her brow confused, thinking of a number of rebuttals. Kage Bunshin, he easily adds, eagerly cutting up his seasoned steak. Curiosity drives her to ask, how? Kage Bunshin is Jonin level jutsu, and I recall you failed the finals Bunshin no jutsu 3 times. After swallowing a good chunk of delicious meat, he can't help but say, this is so good. I was told that I have large chakra reserves and 10 tekken, large chakra holes. Tenketsus, she corrects. The nodes on your body by which chakra is released. Yeah, that, he happily agrees. So, it makes it harder for me to use jutsu that only need a little bit of chakra, like Bunshin no jutsu. It's why I've been working super hard on my chakra control all this time. I had no idea Kakashi-sensei was so dutiful with his team, Kurenai surprisingly muses, having heard from Asuma of the silver-haired Jonin's burdens. Maybe it really was a good idea they all went behind Kakashi's back to have the Hokage order the strong shinobi to become a sensei. It's not that shinobi don't understand his loss and grief, but it was becoming clear to his friends that Kakashi wasn't moving on from the deaths of Obito and Rin, years after the fact. When I heard he'd been privately instructing Uchiha-kun, I was worried Kakashi-sensei was being unfair, but I'm glad. What? Naruto starts but immediately chokes on a nice chunk of beef. After beating on his chest a few times, the chunk of half-chewed meat is dislodged from throat to plate. Though repulsed, Kurenai can't help but wonder about the strong reaction as a teary-eyed Naruto yells, he's been teaching Sasuke Tem on the side. How come? For how long? What about me and Sakura-chan? His wide eyes of disbelief and angered brows easily tells Kurenai he had no idea his sensei was providing extra training to one of them and tries to clarify, didn't you just say, wasn't Kakashi-sensei the one who told about your chakra reserves and your tenketsus? No. Naruto bellows. I had to find that out on my own. What the hell? I ask him all the time to train me outside of team stuff, and he never does. It's always like, if I have time, but he never has time. I never knew he was training Sasuke Tem. This sucks. Rather surprised by the unexpected outburst, Kurenai searches for the best words to ease the irate genin. Knowing Kakashi's bloody history, Kurenai understands the senior Jonin is likely experiencing some form of shame-birthed debt toward the last Uchiha. Deep regret over his fallen teammate, Obito, which Kakashi likely feels he can only atone for through personally training and guiding Uchiha-kun. While there may be an understandable reason, Kurenai can't help but feel for Naruto. In the boy's eyes, it just looks like favoritism toward his class's rookie of the year. Well, Naruto, she starts, deliberately using his name to calm him a bit. It seems to me like you're going in the right direction. Mastering chakra control is absolutely key to becoming a great shinobi. There isn't a great warrior alive who has terrible chakra control. She adds an easy smile, but it barely phases the upset blonde, so she continues, also, I bet Uchiha-kun can't use Kage Bunshin. It's a difficult technique to learn, not to mention very dangerous. Huh? Naruto abruptly questions, coaxing him a little out of agitation. Dangerous how? Kurenai pauses again, wondering if this blonde oddity is actually using a technique without knowledge of its harmful disadvantages. The physical ramifications of dispelling your clones. At his blank stare, she continues to further explain, after the amount of information or experiences is transferred back to the original, it affects you physically in harmful or potentially lethal ways. It can easily be too much for the mind to handle. Many shinobi have gone insane, destroyed their chakra circulation system, or become brain dead from overuse. Some have even died. It's why Kage Bunshin is a forbidden jutsu, and any shinobi that can use it are warned to never keep it active for longer than 10 to 15 minutes. Huh, I didn't know that, he comments noncommittally. How could you not know the side effects of such a dangerous jutsu? Didn't Kakashi-sensei warn you how overuse could kill you? Now that I think about it, I don't remember him ever telling me about that, Naruto ponderously feeds back. But then again, I keep my clones out for way longer than 15 minutes, so I never bothered to ask him. Setting aside Kakashi's potentially fatal negligence, she focuses on his declaration of, way longer than 15 minutes. Quote. How much longer? She asks, growing more and more vexed by this conversation. It's either an extreme lack of guidance and responsibility on Kakashi's part, or this blue-eyed blonde is a baffling fool. It varies really, he starts, garishly chewing on his steak with a happy hum. But generally for several hours, like 5 or 6, I guess, he easily answers. That's not possible, Kurenai staggers to say, eyes wide with healthy skepticism. You would have long been brain dead, if not dead after half an hour. I don't know about all that, but I always have clones training, Naruto tells her. Even before I sent out 20 clones to train and only dispelled them a couple minutes ago. Kurenai had long since put her utensils down, in awe at the tremendous discovery she stumbled upon, but now she has to get up and pace, only stopping to make absolutely certain. You're sure? Sure about what? Frustrated, she answers, that you can keep your clones activated for more than 5 hours. Oh, yup, he answers. She paces again, but remembering her hunger, she picks up her plate of salad for the ride and eats as she paces. Do you still have a headache? Nope, he answers after swallowing his cut of steak. Gone already. Amazing, she gasps, ignoring his happy chuckles. His body must be highly abnormal to be able to deal with such drastic side effects. The only theory she can think of that might provide an answer is the power of the Kyuubi, but she doesn't know nearly enough about that to make any educated conclusions. This means that any experience or knowledge your clone. Kami, she gasps in awe. With enough clones you could learn techniques that normally require years of training in a matter of weeks. Yup, Naruto calmly answers, focusing more on his steak than Kurenai's amazement. Recalling their chase from his apartment, she asks for confirmation's sake, have you learned tree walking? Yeah, he answers between chewing. Water walking, she quickly asks. I fight against my clones on water all the time, he responds with a smile. It's better than hitting the ground, but man, am I tired afterward. Amazing, she answers, letting out a huff of air. So, what are you working on now? It's the first time Kurenai has ever felt excited talking to Naruto. She just couldn't deny the ambitious sensei within was enthusiastic to hear his response. A look of hesitant nervousness blooms across his face. Sorry. Nice Kurenai-chan. She rolls her eyes at his slip as he continues to say, it's sort of a secret right now, but I can tell you it's really awesome. I don't think you realize how amazing this is, Uzumaki. Naruto. He interrupts. Everyone calls me Naruto. Naruto, she easily concedes, interested only in advancing the conversation. With proper guidance, you could be one of the strongest shinobi in the nation. As a sensei and strong inheritor of the will of fire, it's not hard, by any stretch of the word, to marvel at his potential and envision his future. That's the plan, he exclaims with glee. Watch, I'm going to be the greatest Hokage ever. Holy shit. Her mind explodes. It's been so easy to ignore his thoughtless boasting as delusional wish fulfillment, but at the moment, there's a real possibility he may, in fact, be able to achieve his dream, with training, of course. How can that idiot Kakashi ignore this? To ignore or not see something this massive, Kurenai has to wonder if the silver-haired elite even cares about their village at all. She's big enough to admit she never cared for the boy, but it's not like he's been shy or hiding his desire to learn. It only took her a few questions to see his potential. And Kakashi's had so much more time and opportunity to ask. Kurenai is already making plans to talk with the copy ninja when her earlier intent to make sure Uzumaki-kun stays content pops to the forefront of her mind. The blonde would obviously feel more grateful, possibly even indebted to her if she helped train him where his own sensei has failed. Though there is a well-practiced, yet unwritten rule that states, unless the primary sensei asks for the assistance, then another sensei approaching the student is widely considered unacceptable. It wouldn't be a good situation for Kurenai if her training Naruto ever came to light, but it's not any worse than what they've already done in the dark. As long as everything remains secret, there shouldn't be any issues. As she paces the room, automatically eating her salad, she's struck with the ultimate deciding factor. If Uzumaki-kun does ever make it to Hokage level, that may be the ultimate service she can provide the village. Her will of fire has always been about guiding the future shinobi of the village, it's why she's trying so hard for Hinata-chan. Helping Uzumaki-kun is such an obvious extension of that drive, it only makes sense to guide him, unwritten rule be damned. Turning to the boy as he finishes the last ounce of the once large steak with a satisfied smile on his face and sauce on the corners of his mouth, she's momentarily stunned. She hasn't even finished her salad yet. Someone was hungry, she comments, before moving on. Naruto-kun, would you like it if I helped you? You're already helping me. He inquisitively tilts his head, then his cheeks redden as he quietly adds, and I probably like it more than ramen, probably. A light blush coats her cheeks at the memory of their activities, but she moves forward. I meant with your training. You said you'd like to keep your current training a secret for the moment, but if I promise you I wouldn't reveal it to anyone, would you like me to help you? He's stunned speechless, almost laughably so. His eyes widen, his jaw slacks just enough for his mouth to open and his shoulders slump as he drops his fork. Come now, she says with a small smile. It's not so shocking that a sensei would like to help a genin become stronger. He tries to laugh, but it's a pitiful sound as he shuts his eyelids, squeezing out a small bit of moisture as he says with a croaky voice, yeah, you're right. He tries to hide how he wipes his eyes with the cloth napkin that wipes his mouth, but she easily spots it, making her wonder just how alone the blonde bundle of energy has been. Let me think about it and I'll get back to you. She nods and grabs her dish and glass to take to the sink as she asks him over her shoulder, if you're done, can you bring me your plate and cup? She hears him hum as he grabs his dirty tableware. Walking up behind her, Naruto can't help but admire the gorgeous ebony-haired beauty who's taking such an interest in him. To Naruto, who has so few precious people whom care about him, it was furthermore unbelievable simply because it was a woman. Ji-chan, Tsuki Gigi, Uruka-sensei were all males he could completely be himself around. With the exception of Ayame Ne-chan, Kurenai was the only female who doesn't seem to mind being with him. He was beginning to believe that he's actually gained another precious person, someone beautiful, strong, clean, who talks smarter than almost everyone he knows. Further focusing his gaze to the lithe gesture of her spine as it travels down to her round rump that no thin pajamas could ever hide, Naruto's gaze locks on the perfect roundness of her rear cheeks, making his pants feel much tighter as he quickly stiffens. He sets his plate and cutlery on the counter as she starts washing, and then hugs her from behind, quickly taking in the alluring scent of her long moist hair, and wide softness of her body. As the top of his head only reaches her nose, his arms easily belt around the underside of her S, lifting them so they rest lusciously on his forearms. Uzumaki-kun, she gasps, bracing herself on the counter as she easily feels his rigid hardness grind just under her bubble bottom. I won't let you down, Kurenai-chan, he confidently pronounces. Taking a moment to absorb the weight of his confident claim, she simply responds, let's both do our best. When she feels his grinding become more impassioned, his hands cup her S and gentle lips on the skin of her back, she has to pull away, but he holds on. The moisture rising between her legs forces her to half turn in his embrace. She puts a hand on his shoulder, telling him, wait. He doesn't let go, but he stops grinding his thick erection against her, looking straight up at her, pupils dilated and unmistakable hungry for her. We got a little sidetracked, she tells him, not pushing him away but ensuring he doesn't progress anymore. But, we still have to talk about how things between us are going to go moving forward. You're still going to train me, right? Naruto nervously asks, obviously dreading a horrible response. Does he always wear his emotions on his sleeve? She thinks as she feels him tighten his grip a little. Oh well, there are worse things, she mentally sighs with reason before responding, short answer, yes. Oh, Cammy, I can't believe I'm saying this, and struggles to add, I'm willing to continue what we're doing. His face lights up with the biggest smile she's ever seen from him, and just as he's about to cheer, hug her, or possibly, her to death, she loudly adds, however, I want to be clear here. If we move ahead with this arrangement, there will be no confusion about where the lines are drawn. We have to have boundaries or it's just shameful depravity. The only way I'm willing to continue is if we establish rules, so, take a seat and we'll discuss them after I finish cleaning. He looks like he doesn't want to let go but eventually does, crosses the index and middle fingers of each hand and speaks, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 3 exact clones of himself pop into existence from a cloud of white smoke. Naruto takes her hand and heads into the sitting room as he tells his copies, clean up in here and dispel after. Thanks. You got it, boss, she hears one call out as she allows Uzumaki-kun to lead her away, but only until she realizes his destination is upstairs, after which she halts his pull. Stopping before reaching a single step, she pulls him back and brings him to the couch in the sitting room instead. Due to the open curtains, it's less private than her room, which means he'll have to behave. He looks disappointed, but since he might be a fiend for her, she isn't worried. The rules, she starts. At its essence, you asked me to teach you how to be a good or better lover, so that's what this will continue to be, a course of study with practical experience. That means I'm your sensei, and you are my student. I'll lay out how each session will go and what you'll be learning. So, first rule is always do as your sensei tells you. If I tell you to stop, you stop. Will that be a problem for you? I don't think so, he comments as he tries to think ahead. Will you still feel good, and will you tell me if I'm making you feel good? I really like. Kurenai notes how easy it is for him to get aroused as he swallows and continues saying, how you look and feel when you see cum. A blush grows hot on her own cheeks, and the not-so-gentle reminders of all her orgasms this afternoon begins to dampen the panties between her tense legs. He catches her legs tightened together before she crosses them. Even though she's in her pajamas, he's seen her nubile body and she can easily see her clothes hide nothing from his eager eyes. Palming his hot cheek to raise his eyes to look directly into hers, she answers his question. I don't think you have to worry about whether I'll feel good or not. I don't, foresee a problem there. And yes, I will be more informative about the whys and hows of what you do and how it might make a girl feel. Oh, sweet, he says with a grin. What else? Second rule, and this is very important, she states, and he nods in rapt attention. You will stop climaxing inside of me. Unless I specifically say otherwise, we will be using condoms from here on. He bemoans as he tries to counter. But it feels really good this way. I don't care, she easily tells him. I may be on the pill, but there's always a 1% chance I could get pregnant, and with the sheer quantity of your ejaculation, I'd rather not take that risk. As for the feeling, I'm sure it'll feel just as good. This is a deal breaker for me, so without a condom, nothing happens, got it? He huffs, somewhat defeated, and simply nods. Third rule. This very intimate and physical thing we're doing is not, I repeat, not about love, she declares. At least not romantic love. We can respect one another, protect one another, maybe in the future become good friends, but we will never be a romantic couple. Even though we have or kiss, or do many other intimate things, that does not mean we'll go on dates, get married, or anything like that. I'm teaching you the art of pleasure so you can use these skills either for the good of the village, such as on missions, or for the special girl you one day decide to marry. Does all of that make sense to you? I don't want to break your heart because you were hoping we might become romantic one day. He looks dejected throughout her explanation, but also thoughtful, as if he's truly trying to puzzle out what she needs him to understand. After several moments of deep thought, he asks her, will you be okay? What do you mean? She asks, genuinely confused, hoping he's not wise enough to suggest she'd fall in love with him. I have a girl I really like, who would make me the happiest guy in the world if she liked me back, but she doesn't. If we weren't teammates, I think she might actually hate me, so I'm definitely happy that I have this with you. But what about your love? I don't want you to miss out on the love of your life any more than I'd want to miss out on mine, if she was actually interested, I mean. He doesn't know, she thinks as her stomach becomes a little weak. How could he know? She questions as her chest constricts and her throat goes dry. The cheers of the world outside was so easy to ignore until this moment, and she wants to cry again, though not simply because of her recently fractured and sore heart, but because in addition to that, this boy isn't so possessive as to deny her love for someone else solely to stay with him. Kurenai can't be absolutely sure he means it, but all her psychological training is telling her that he doesn't seem like the type to hide or be deceptive. Hell, even when he can't tell her something, he doesn't lie to cover it up. He simply tells her he can't say. Compartmentalizing is easy for Kurenai's mind, and she keeps it together as she tells the blue-eyed blonde, that's sweet of you to say. I mean it, Kurenai-chan, he tells her firmly, balling his fists. You're a precious person to me now, so I want you to be happy too. He stands on his feet to boldly announce, I know I asked for this, but if you ever find someone you can love, then you absolutely have to be with him. Kurenai almost snorts and holds back a sad, pitiful laugh. How can this boy, with all the seriousness he can muster, tell me that with a straight face? She mentally ponders. Because he doesn't know, her mind then easily answers. And it's not like he actually positioned himself between Asuma and I. A princess accepted that position happily. Kurenai realizes her constant heartache for Asuma shouldn't be placed on Naruto's doorstep. Heartbreaking hopes with Asuma, too much alcohol and bad decisions led me here. Even now, This boy has little to do with my heart, but at the very least, he's opened my eyes to even more I can do in service to my village. She can almost feel great honor in turning the dead last of the latest graduates into one of the strongest shinobis the village has ever produced, and while this isn't how she would have ever decided to accomplish that, Kurenai knows her father would say, it is what it is, but more importantly, what we make of it. It'll take Kurenai time for her heart to mend, but at least with Hinata-chan, teammate and now Naruto-kun, she won't have much time to obsess over her gnawing pain. Naruto, thank you, she says with a mild but very real smile. I believe you, and if I ever feel I might find happiness with someone, I'll let you know. He was being sweet and her smile was genuine until she realized he hasn't sat back down because of the cleavage she was showing. His eyes look dark and she can practically see his brain function slipping away for his clear desire of her. Naruto, calm down, she tells him with little success. As your sensei, you promised to do as I say, so calm down, she commands. Naruto's eyes lighten and clear of its lustful fog, but he looks wounded, and he's still erect. Sorry. I really want to be inside you again. It's hard just looking at you. Thank you, she blushes at how blunt with his desires he is. I know it feels good, but we had a lot of this afternoon, and a grand majority of women tend to be sore, or tender down there after such long and repeated sessions. They need time to heal. That seemed to do the trick as he takes a step back worried, asking, I didn't hurt you, did I? I'm so sorry, Nai-chan. I didn't know. No, you didn't hurt me, but I am quite sore, she eases him while omitting the pleasant humming of it. It's not a bad soreness, but we shouldn't do any more today. Oh, he sighs, adjusting his pants. I understand, he sadly says. For the briefest moment, she thought of comforting him with her mouth, but quickly shoved that thought aside. It isn't necessary to his education at the moment, and more than that, he needs to learn self-control. Still, something is better than nothing, and she gives him a little hope by telling him, however, I'll feel better tomorrow and I can teach you more then. Really? He yells, catching her off guard. Really? Yes, she answers him with a smile, but stipulates, we'll meet at your place an hour before midnight. Less chance of being seen that way. He hugs her for a long time, eventually taking in the scent of her hair and rubbing her back. Clearly you have a lot of energy to burn, she notes, interrupting his rising arousal by standing and moving towards the front door. So I'll make you a bet. You go train, and if you make any significant progress in your secret training, I'll give you a treat I'm sure you'll really like. His eye bulge like saucers and he's out the door in seconds, much to her amusement. Naruto mastered Rasengan that night. Naru ni. Naruto yells excitedly. Ow. Naru ni yelps as Naruto continues to say, that's gotta be the best technique ever. Wait. You mastered it? Naru ni asks with disbelief. You really mastered Rasengan? Damn right I did, he excitedly claims. I couldn't sleep. Just had way too much energy, so with Kurama's chakra I made a ton of clones and we trained all night. I've been blowing holes in trees all morning. If I ever peg someone with this, they're history. Great job. Hell, man, I think you learned it a lot faster than I did, Naru ni happily remarks. Though, I didn't know about the way my clones could help me train until years after I'd already learned it, which really bums me out, actually. Yeah, I thought Kakashi-sensei might have told me all about Kage Bunshin, but it was Kurenai-chan that told me about the side effects. Actually, I need to talk to you about her. Naruto tells Naru ni about the day before about how much more involved she'll be in his life as well as her offer to help him train. I've always been told I was lucky, but I never believed it till now, Naru ni mumbles, and Naruto even hears a slight sniff. Naru ni. Naruto calls worrisomely. Right. You lucky fox, Naru ni states after clearing his throat and focusing on business. From what I remember, Kurenai-sensei was always wicked smart, Naruni recalls aloud. She's a genjutsu master, which is really hard to do. Team 8 have always been pretty strong, so I know she's a good sensei. PFF'd. Naruto's tongue outspits. Who isn't a good sensei compared to Kakashi? Trust me, I know how much it sucks that he's training Sasuke. Damn right it does, Naruto protests. And he never told me about Kage Bunshin training. Naruto interjects. Yes, and his not telling you about Kage Bunshin training, Naruni humors his younger self. But even still, you're doing crazy good too, way better than me at that age. I know you want them to acknowledge your strength, but the most important reason for that strength is to protect your friends, your precious people, and most importantly, the love of your life. Kurenai-sensei. Traitor. Naruto calls as he hears Naruni laughing his ass off. You know Sakura-chan is always in my heart. I know, I'm only teasing, he jests with a laugh. It's just, man, I can't believe it. Kurenai-sensei. I'll forgive you this time, Naruto admonishes humorously. And only because I completely get it. I love Sakura-chan, but Kurenai-chan, that's a woman. That, and someone willing to help you get stronger, Naruni states, easing off the playful banter. She's someone we need to protect, so I'm going to make sure you're strong enough to protect everyone. Yeah, Naruto agrees, his tone turning more serious. It's the promise of a lifetime. Damn right it is, Naruni calls with just as much enthusiasm. Naruto then asks, so, what do you think about Kurenai-chan helping us? I really think she should, you know, cause she's smart and all. Naruni laughs heartily. Yeah, I bet you do. I don't think it's a bad idea, but I still think we should be careful. If she starts wondering how you know things you shouldn't, it might turn out bad for everyone and get in the way of training. You won't be able to help anyone if you're locked in an interrogation cell. Meh, I bet it'll be fine, Naruto responds confidently. So, what do I tell her when she asks how I learned Rasengan? Naruni is silent. Damn, the future Naruto curses. I'm not sure if you can. It's not written down in any scrolls, and the only two people alive that know it are Ero Sanin and Kakashi-sensei. So then what do I say when I use it? Naruto wonders aloud, recalling his many daydreams of using his new jutsu to save princesses from evil warlords. When I use it in front of Kakashi-sensei, or if Ji-chan finds out, wouldn't they ask me how I learned it? That's a good question, Naruni slowly admits, seemingly lost in thought. I can't believe I hadn't thought of that. I was just super focused on training you. I hadn't thought what others might say, you know. Sue, Naruto sounds, leaving it open-ending for Naruni to fill. Hey, why am I doing all the thinking here? Naruni retorts. You help too. We're both pranksters, Dadbeo. Rolling his eyes, Naruto asks, can't someone have told us? If we said somebody taught us well, taught you, then we'd have to say who they are. And we definitely can't say either Ero Sanin or Kakashi taught us, cause I'm sure they'll deny it if Ji-chan asks them. If we say we learned it from a scroll, I'm sure you'll have to, if not hand it over, then at least show them proof. Naruto hums in agreement before asking, can't I just say I taught myself? Well, you could, Naruni skeptically assuages, adding, I doubt they'd believe you, especially when you consider who the jutsu belongs to. The fourth Hokage, Naruto finishes. Exactly, Naruni confirms before an idea forms in his time-distant head. Now that I think about it, there might actually be a way to kind of explain this, or at least make it impossible to prove otherwise. Sakura. Naruto had left her 30 minutes ago after Sakura begged for a 2-hour break. They'd been training since she found him in training ground 28 at 9 in the morning. Even with her perfect chakra control fueling her attacks in the most efficient way possible, her endurance is so pitiful, she can never outlast him. She spent the last 30 minutes on the grass, sore, sweaty, panting, and hungry. Despite how difficult training with Naruto is, Sakura can't say she hates it. She's noticed the differences from day to day, and she can proudly say she's getting better. Every day she can do just a little bit more, and after a week of constant training with the idiot, she's not dreading it as she had in the beginning. She still hates Naruto, but the training, at the very least, is a clear benefit. Still, she needs to get up, head home, take a shower, and finish the first report for Ino on obsessive love. Staying away from Sasuke-kun was an ever-present gnawing pain eating away at her intestines. While training with Naruto was a constant feeling of failure, not simply as a woman, but as a kunoichi, the most difficult rule for Sakura to follow is composing the report Ino expects. With a comprehensive analytical mind, Sakura can't help but pick up on patterns and cues, assign memory markers, and compare discrepancies between her personal experiences and the text she's reading. For some odd reason, they were claiming the expression of her love for Sasuke-kun was unhealthy. It was ridiculous to her. Clearly, they didn't understand, which made writing the report all the more difficult. As the kunoichi of the year, Sakura has written many reports, all of which received perfect grades. It was easy with her memory, and now that perfect recall has been tarnished with this poisonous psycho-babble. However, despite her denial, the research Ino is making her write stayed in her mind, taunting the purity of her emotions. There's actually a disorder called obsessive love disorder, and Sakura remembers it all. Obsessive love has addictive qualities, such as speaking extensively about the object of their love, making repeated advancement toward the object of their love, alienating friends and family for the sake of the object of their love, self-destructive self-sacrifice for the object of their love, a tendency to feel extremely good or extremely bad depending on the attitude of the object of their love, an inability to focus on one's social, educational, or familial responsibilities outside the object of their love. Sakura was forced to read, memorize, and even use her own life as examples for each warning sign, effortlessly forcing her sharp mind to recall exact examples. Sakura remembers talking to everyone about Sasuke-kun. Her parents, in particular, would never hear the end of everything she'd seen Sasuke-kun do in the academy that day. She'd always ask Sasuke-kun if he wanted to go shopping, for a walk, to breakfast, to lunch, to dinner, training, anything she could think he might say yes to. Likewise, anyone who also loved Sasuke-kun was naturally her enemy. In addition, anyone who didn't support her love for Sasuke-kun became impediments she couldn't allow. This included practically every personal relations she had, not that she had many. Sakura recalls ignoring her father when he cautioned her to concentrate less on a boy and more on her studies. Ino became your rival overnight, a voice adds. Naturally, Sakura would sacrifice her life for Sasuke-kun, but can that really be called obsessive? The Hokage loves the village and everyone knows he would gladly lay down his life for theirs. How is Sakura any different? If Sasuke-kun hated something, she hated it too. Sakura heard he liked long hair and she let hers grow out. Naruto, in particular, felt her fists more times than she can count for his every slight against Sasuke-kun. Sakura felt miserable, her insides dead and decaying. Day in and day out, she hurt at the direction her life is being forced to take, all because of Ino. Sakura had devised a few plans to steal the blackmail material, but of course, she couldn't be sure if she got them all or if Ino made copies, which meant the risk Sasuke-kun would learn of her shame. She thought of personally speaking with the Hokage, pleading that he discreetly demand the embarrassing photos from the Yamanaka. But of course, Ino can lie and say she doesn't know what they're talking about, which would become a she said, or Ino could spread the photos before they're retaken. There were just too many variables that would end with each plan breaking her heart. And that would destroy her ultimate goal, making sure her love for Sasuke-kun survived. If Sakura has to spend some time with the blonde ball of energy and not ask Sasuke-kun out, then she'll do it. As long as there's a slim chance she can beat this blackmail, her love remains viable in the long run. For now, Sakura puts all her anxiety and frustrations into training. It's the best and only method for coping with this waking nightmare. As much as she hates to admit it, she is getting something out of this indentured servitude. And for some reason, she's actually learning from Naruto. If it wasn't for him, she wouldn't have learned her elemental affinity was earth with a minor in water. Having explained his leaf training, she was actually fascinated. How the dead last of their class is training in nature manipulation years, possibly decades, before it's feasible is beyond her. Sakura was sure she wasn't ready for that kind of training and even pondered if Sasuke-kun is. She simply didn't have the reserves or endurance for that kind of intense conditioning, which actually warmed Sakura to the possibility that Naruto isn't quite the hopeless idiot she always assumed he was. Though she felt like asking him questions, Sakura just couldn't allow herself to engage with the blonde to that extent. There's no telling how he'll take it, and the last thing she wants is for him to constantly hit on her again. Like how you had with Sasuke-kun, a stupid voice in her head patiently asks. Squeezing her eyes shut, Sakura grips her unconditioned and dirty hair and screeches to the open skies above. I'm dying, she thinks, hating her thoughts, hating her memories, and hating Ino most of all. This is death. Ino. Ino slumps pacified into her mattress, burying her head into her pillow to stifle her screams of pleasure as her second orgasm rocks her quivering sensitivity. Ooh, that was is, she mentally groans as her fluid thoughts melt into the sugary hum of the tail end of her orgasm. Returning to her senses, she unclasps the photo bent out of shape in her tight grip, adding yet more folds to the image of her as Sakura sucking Naruto's. Ino's grown accustomed to this daily ritual, dutifully performed at the bare minimum, 3 times a day, before and after sleep, and at some point in the middle of the day. Initially, the dreams and memory were more than abundant stimulation to reach her gushing peaks. However, with every passing day, she could feel the potent effect dwindle little by little. It wasn't until her manipulation of Sakura, when that excitement shot up near the level of the first week after her deflowering. She should absolutely hate what she had done with Naruto, and to an extent, she does. However, it wasn't of her own volition, strange as that sounds. Ino knows she wouldn't have ever done that with Naruto, but she did, and only because she felt out of control with her arousal. So despite knowing she should hate it, her conditioned mind can never get around the painfully honest fact that she really wanted it to happen. Not necessarily with him, but she certainly loved the feeling to rip through her again, shredding her pleasure centers to white oblivion. Ino couldn't help wanting to pass out, squeezing a solid so hard it feels like she's trying to swallow him. Calm down, Ino, her mind huffs, already feeling her excitement build at the thought of Naruto's filling her unprotected womb with his baby batter. To this day she can't figure out why that overwhelming feeling of ecstasy struck her, but it hadn't. She forced Naruto to satisfy her carnal cravings. It's this very fact that keeps her from truly hating him, or what happened. It's why she now pleasures herself every day. Ino worries she might be a UAL deviant, a pervert, the very thing all women instinctively hate about men. This internal revelation disturbed her like nothing else has, forcing her to constantly wonder, can girls be perverts too? Ino knows women gossip and play, sure, but that is not an image for the general public. Unlike men, women respect themselves too much to catcall, peep, stalk, or steal underwear. And while she doesn't feel the need to catcall, peep or stalk Naruto, she knows that somehow he had changed her, possibly opened up a part of her she never knew existed, or may not have learned existed until much later in her years. She was a girl before, a ninja as well, extensively trained in the elementary stages of the art of killing, or catching stupid cats, but now she was a woman. Awakened with needs she didn't know how to completely deal with. She felt much better than the first week after being with Naruto, but her mind was holding on to those images, those sounds, and those intense feelings she experienced with him. Her mind was replaying them every night and her body reacted to them every time. Setting down the bent photo, Ino is starting to wonder what else might help her explore her salacious curiosity, what more there is to learn about her body, and how much she may end up liking it.